My birthday is on August 12th, and this year there will be a rare total eclipse on the exact moment I was born. And only a few hours later comes the annual Perseid meteor shower, and that's not everything. I'm also turning 33 this year, which has always been my lucky number. So either this is the luckiest birthday of my life, or this is finally the day I receive my witch powers. Whatever the universe has planned, I figured I should have something nice to wear. The lucky coincidences don't stop here. Some weeks ago, I ran out of thread while sewing, and I went to buy some, and on my way home, I walked past a charity shop and found a Zara Home linen bedsheet for 15 euros. Like what? Buying this fabric would have cost me 4 times this price. It is just the most beautiful blue I've ever seen. I hope some of this luck rubs off on you. I'm so excited, so let's get into it. Even though my birthday atmosphere sounds pretty whimsical and celestial, I'm a practical person, so I'm not making an extravagant fantasy dress that I only wear for one day. That's what I told myself, but the truth is there's limited fabric on this bedsheet, so I can't make a puffy princess warrior gown. After looking at many dress ideas, I settled on the garden dress pattern by Frog Studios. I usually like to self-draft my clothes, but lately I found out that I learn so much more when I follow a pattern. Otherwise, I'm always using the same techniques and style over and over, and I want to be able to upgrade my skills. Plus, I'm too tired this week to make so many calculations. This design has pin tags at the front and little bows at the sides. The perfect mix between simple and romantic. The last time I made pin tags, I just figured out how to make them myself, so I'm excited to see how this translates in a pattern. I skimmed the instructions and they are as long as a book. I felt super overwhelmed. It seems to overcome my current abilities, so I'm going to take it slow and give myself 3 weeks to make it. So I'm starting this way ahead of my birthday. Just after my birthday, Eneko and I will be heading off on a little summer trip to visit our families and escape the city heat. To help us pack, Level 8 is kindly sponsoring today's video and has sent me this carry-on in olive green color. It is gorgeous, but most importantly is lightweight and durable. This is the state of our current suitcase. It's even embarrassing. It's ripped apart and the wheels only move in one direction and it's so heavy to pull. Level 8's wide handle design, combined with the strong aluminum structure, helps distribute the weight more evenly, so pushing and pulling feels much easier. I am a very sensitive person when it comes to noise, so I love that these wheels are super smooth and quiet. I also like that their handle rails aren't in the middle like on most suitcases. They are built into the sides instead. That leaves the inside completely flat, so it has more space to fill with my handmade clothes. If you've been looking for a suitcase like this, I will leave a discount in the description. Going back to the dress, I want to make the crew neck version without sleeves. Although if I end up with enough leftover fabric, I might add some little sleeves. The last time I made pin tags, I just folded the fabric and once the pin tags were made, I cut them with the top pattern. I thought this pattern might teach me a different method, but it turns out it's pretty much the same process. I'd forgotten how long it takes to prepare a sewing pattern. Between printing, trimming and taping everything together, I spent an entire afternoon just assembling it. Luckily, I had Eneko helping me. This is probably the least glamorous part of sewing, and one of the reasons I usually end up drafting my own patterns instead. I just have to tape the rows, and it will be time to cut out all the pieces. I will spare you that part and see you when everything is ready. Okay, so yesterday I finished cutting all the pattern pieces and today I faced the scary challenge of cutting the fabric. I took a good cold shower because the heat it's been making it unbearable. Normally I turn on the air conditioner, but Momo had another rough week with his cystitis. He's scared of the noise it makes, so we are trying to keep the apartment as quiet as possible while he recovers. The only downside is it's really hot for me to work from home, especially if I have to use the iron. And I have to because I washed the linen. I should flatten the wrinkles before cutting the fabric. I always get a little anxious when I'm working with limited fabric. There's no room for mistakes, and I'm hoping I'll have enough left over to add some gathered ruffles at the hem or maybe even sleeves. I think I've got it. That one I will cut on the fold, and for the back I need 2 mirrored pieces. The only thing is that if I use the fabric as it specifies on the pattern, the length comes across this seam. So I'm just going to make the dress a little bit shorter. This way I can also use this exact side to cut the mirrored part of this. Here in the middle I will put one of the dress side pieces and the other one will have to go on the other side. That might be leftover fabric, but I still have to fit some pieces. I'm not doing long sleeves, so it's just bias binding and the ties for the side bows. The instructions recommend tracing directly onto the fabric, removing the pattern paper and then cutting. It probably gives you a cleaner result, but when you're working on your bed instead of a proper cutting table, the chalk just sinks into the mattress and barely leaves a mark. Sometimes sewing instructions assume everyone has a dedicated studio. I'm just cutting with the pattern pins and hope for the best. It's killing my back though. I know a big cutting table will never fit in our apartment, but one of those tables with adjustable height would be nice instead of working on the bed or on the dining table. I finally finished, and somehow I still have this much fabric left. I'm going to save it until the dress is finished, just in case I need to recut anything. After that, I can decide whether it becomes sleeves or maybe a little gathered detail. Believe it or not, this took the whole afternoon. It's a good thing I started working on this weeks before my birthday. Morning. It's been a few days since I cut the fabric. Unfortunately, Momo got worse again, so we've spent most of the week going back and forth to the bed. I'm exhausted. Not physically as much as emotionally. We've been trying everything we can for almost 2 months now, and I really hope these antibiotics finally help. This morning I finally have a few quiet hours to work on the dress. I'm staying in my pajamas because getting out of bed already feels like enough on an achievement today. If you notice anything strange, I'm wearing earplugs. I'm very sensitive to noise, and after listening all week to Momo desperately scratching around his little box trying to pee, my nerves can't stand it anymore.
Have you no compassion for my poor nerves?
Oh, you mistake me, my dear. I have the highest respect for them. They've been my constant companions these 20 years.
And if that wasn't enough, construction started in the building across. At the beginning of this video, it felt like the universe was conspiring in my favor. This week, it feels like it's testing me instead. I'm starting with the pin tags. The instructions actually recommend finger pressing each fold instead of ironing every single one, which should make the process much faster. I made the first pin tags, but I've already run out of thread, so I'm going to get dressed and go buy some. I could use a nice walk anyway. Whenever I need matching thread, I always bring the empty spool together with a scrap of fabric. It turned out to be lucky that I brought the fabric this time, because this spool is so old that the color code doesn't exist anymore. I wasn't expecting this, but making all these tiny pin tags has been incredibly calming. There's something about repeating the same movement over and over that completely quiets my mind. I'm finally ready to press them. That's so satisfying. Although you can definitely tell the first ones aren't as neat as the last ones. Maybe I should have practiced on the back first. Oh well, imperfections made handmade things feel handmade, I don't mind it. Now we're off to another vet appointment with Momo. Today they're doing another test to try and understand why he's peeing blood. My poor thing, I'm so sorry to disturb him. We're back home now. Momo was incredibly brave and now we just have to wait for the results. The good news is that today he finally managed to use the little box normally. These pin tags are looking better than the ones I made this morning. I guess being less worried helps. I feel I'm being so slow, like every day I manage to make only so little. But this is the reality of sewing, and I'm happy to show it just like it is. Tutorials usually begin with the pattern already assembled, the fabric already cut, and suddenly a dress appears 20 minutes later. In reality, most of sewing is preparation. Careful measuring, marking, cutting, pressing, and picking stitches. It's much slower than the internet makes it seem. I've been working all day with this and I've managed to make all the pin tags. So I've worked on this dress 3 days now and I haven't even started sewing the pieces together. And this weekend I have friends coming home and we are attending a wedding, so it will be a couple or 3 days before I can come back to this, finally sew it together. Hello again, the wedding was beautiful and I got to wear my cape and handmade dress. I was told by a stranger that I looked like an elf and she made my day. Now this elf can finally start assembling the birthday dress. The pattern recommends sewing everything with French seams, but the day I cut the pieces I didn't feel brave enough to try and make French seams for the first time with this project. Now I wish I would have, because it's something I wanted to learn, but I can always make the blouse version of this pattern in the future. Also, good news, Momo's cystitis has settled down again. We still don't know if it will come back, but for now he's feeling like himself again. He's been very affectionate. I think he knows we are doing everything we can to help him. I'm almost done with the main body of the dress. I just need to add the side strips for the bows and sew the side seams. Normally I'd stop here because it's about the time Eneko gets home, but there's been a fire near his office. Several streets have been closed, so he's going to be a bit late. It's worrying enough seeing so many wildfires in the mountains, but now we're having fires in the middle of the city too. It's quite scary. I think I will keep sewing until he gets home. Hopefully it will keep my mind occupied in the meantime. Amor!
Hello. Can't speak to the sea.
Oh, Yesterday I got almost everything together, so today I just need to finish a few seams and neaten everything with a zigzag stitch and a top stitch. This is how it's looking so far. I still need to even out the hem and decide whether to add sleeves. I think little sleeves would make it even cuter. Because I had to shorten the skirt to avoid the seam in the fabric, I would like to add a gathered ruffle at the bottom to bring back some of that length. Luckily, I can use some of the leftover fabric, but I need to be careful not to use it all because I'd still love to make short sleeves. From this point on, I'm going to do my own thing. I've officially stopped following the pattern. I'm a little bit disappointed in myself because I found the instructions too complicated and I gave up on learning the things this pattern has to offer, but it is too much for my brain these days. To know how much fabric I needed, I measured the circumference of the skirt. I will need a strip that's at least a meter longer so the gathers have enough fullness. It was a bit of a squeeze and I almost didn't leave enough fabric for the sleeves, but I managed to patch together one long strip. Now I'll hem it, gather it and attach it to the skirt. To make the gathers on my sewing machine, I use the longest stitch length and apply a little tension to the thread as it feeds through. It gathers the fabric as I sew, so afterwards I only need to adjust the fullness until it fits the skirt. I'm done attaching the ruffle. I think it's giving the dress exactly what it needed. It is so hot in here though. I'm counting down the days until autumn. I'm going to press everything nice and flat, call it a day, and tomorrow we'll tackle the sleeves. I'm so excited because I think today is the day I finally finish this dress. I've lost count on how many days I've worked on this. The only thing left to decide is the sleeves. I could either make a simple gathered sleeve or try a flatter sleeve. I'm going to summarize this part because otherwise this video would be another 20 minutes long. I couldn't decide what kind of sleeve to make, so I started by turning the original pattern into flatter sleeves. Once they were finished, I touched one to see how it looked, and I immediately know they weren't right. The sleeves themselves were pretty, but they made the dress look much bulkier than I wanted. The drape also looked a bit strange. I probably should have cut them on the bias, but I only had a tiny piece of fabric left to work with, so that wasn't really an option. By this point, it was unbelievably hot. I finally gave in, took Momo into the bedroom, and turned on the air conditioner. Unfortunately, today it decided to start dripping water on me. Clearly, the heat was getting to my head because I decided to give the sleeves one last chance and turn them into gathered sleeves instead. Somehow, they were even worse. That's when I realized I wasn't just unhappy with how they looked, they also felt heavy and much less comfortable. The sleeveless option had been the right choice all along. Luckily, I'd already cut the bias binding the first day, so finishing the armholes was quick and easy. A nice change after all that indecisiveness. I wonder if years from now I'll put this dress on and immediately think of the eclipse, the meteor shower, and turning 33. I don't know whether this year will turn out to be especially lucky. Maybe the eclipse is just an eclipse and the meteor shower just another August tradition. This video started out very positive and has triggered a series of unfortunate events. It made me realize that luck often looks much simpler than we expect. Maybe having health and people to celebrate with, or finding a beautiful bedsheet at a charity shop and having the skills to turn it into something that carries a little piece of your own story. If that's what luck looks like, then I think I've already had plenty of it. I'd love to know what's one small thing that's made you feel lucky recently. Now let's finally try this beautiful work of labor. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. I will share some photos of how I styled the dress for my birthday on my community page and Instagram. Next week we are making men's clothes as the last chapter of the summer wardrobe series, so I hope I will see you there. Until next time, adeu!